Hello and welcome to math. All right, so today we're going to learn the next thing about functions. Okay, so functions, remember a function is a relationship with one or more ordered pair. Remember, an ordered pair is x, y. It's a point, right? A point on a graph, where each input or x value has a single output or y value. Okay, so this right here is called a function machine. This is a function machine, and we have something that goes into the function machine and then something that comes out of the function machine. So what goes into the function machine is our x value. Remember, there's three words that can also mean x value. It's your input, your independent variable, IV, most of you guys know that from science, and then domain. Anytime you see domain, that means it's a list of your x values. And then what comes out of the function machine is your y values. That's your output, your dependent variable, and your range. Those are all three of these words mean your y values. Okay? Okay, so this is called a function table. All right, so this x is my input. This equation is kind of like my function machine, and then this y is going to be my output, what comes out when it's done. Okay, so the way you do this is I see my first x value here is 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this part of my equation, but instead of writing x, I'm going to put parentheses, and then inside of those parentheses, I'm going to plug in what my x equals. So my x equals 0, so I'm going to plug in 0. All right, from here, I just do the math and see what my output is. So I see that when a number is next to a parentheses, that's why we use parentheses, get in that habit, because in algebra and Algebra 1 Honors, they make you use these parentheses. Okay, so when a number is next to a variable, that means multiply. So that's why we use these parentheses, because a number next to a parentheses also means multiply. All right, you don't want to write it like this, where you just take out the x and put this, because that would be 20. That's not what we're looking for here. This means 2 times x. So we have to put this parentheses to show the times. Okay, so now let's do 2 times 0. What's 2 times 0? Well, that's 0. 0 minus 7 is negative 7. So what's my ordered pair? Well, my ordered pair, my x value was 0. I plugged that in. And then my output, my y, was negative 7. There's my ordered pair. Okay, let's try the next one with 2. I would do the same thing. I would write 2, because I'm just copying down this equation. But instead of writing the x, I'm putting parentheses. And then put the minus 7 still. And then inside those parentheses, I'm putting what my x value was. Well, my x value, my input, is 2, so I'm plugging in 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 minus 7 is negative 3. So then what's my ordered pair? Well, my x value was 2. My input was 2. My output is negative 3. Okay? Let's do another one here. All right, next one. I have 5. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to write 2x minus 7, but instead of writing the x, I'm going to put parentheses. And then I'm going to plug in my input, or my x value. My x value is 5, so I'm going to plug in 5 for x. So now I'm going to do the math here and get my output. 2 times 5 is 10. 10 minus 7 is 3. We multiply before we add or subtract. So what's my ordered pair here? Well, my ordered pair is 5. That's my input, my x. And then my output, or my y, was positive 3. So 5, 3. All right, one last one. We got 8. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to plug 8 in for x. So I'm going to put the same exact thing, except for where the x is, I'm going to put parentheses. And then inside my parentheses, I'm going to put my input, my x value, which was 8. 2 times 8 is 16. 16 minus 7 is 9. So what's my ordered pair? My ordered pair is 8, comma, 9. And there is my ordered pairs. And then I completed my function table. So remember, x is your input. You're inputting it into your equation. You want to do it with parentheses every single time. And then you just use order of operations. Think back when you guys did PEMDAS last year, right? You multiply before you add or subtract. So I'm going to do this times this first and then subtract the 7, right? Okay, pause the video. See if you can do this one on your own. It's 1/2 x minus 9. And then here are my x values here. We're going to fill it in just like this. Pause the video and do it. Remember when you time something by a half, that's the same thing as dividing it by 2, right? You're taking a half of x. So like this first one, you'd be taking a half of negative 6, all right? Go ahead, pause the video, see if you can fill out this chart, and then unpause it when you're done and check your work. Okay, hopefully you paused the video, and hopefully you did your work, and hopefully you got something that looks like this, okay? So all I did is I rewrite this part of my equation. I take out my x, I put parentheses, and then I input this x value into those parentheses. That's my input. I'm putting it into the equation. Then I do the math and I get my output, right? So half of -6 was -3. -3 minus 9 is -12. There's my ordered pair, -6, -12. Half of -2 is -1. -1 minus 9 is -10. There's my ordered pair. When I plugged in -2, I get -10. Half of 0 is 0. 0 minus 9 is -9. So my input was 0. My output was -9. A half of 14 is 7. 7 minus 2 is -2. Or sorry, 7 minus 9 is -2. 14 was my input, my x. My output, or my y, is -2. So that is how we do it. That is a function table. All right, let's go on to the next thing. Okay, the next thing you need to know how to do is when, we'll do this one on the right together. We'll do this one on the right together, and you guys are going to do this one on the left once I show you how to do it, okay? So the first thing you got to do, this says find the range when your domain is these numbers. So remember, domain means your x values. So it's giving you these x values. It's giving you the inputs. So it's saying when your x value is -8, what's your range? When your x value is 0, what's your range? When your x value is 4, what's your range? The range is your y values, right? So just like how we did on that table, when we have something like this, I'm going to take these domain values, my x values, and plug it into this equation. I'm going to do it 3 different times. So I'm going to have 1/4, and instead of x, I'm going to write parentheses, and then I'm going to put +5. Inside those parentheses, I'm going to put my x value. So my first x value was -8. I'm going to plug in -8. So what's 1/4 of -8? Well, 1/4 of -8 is -2. So I would have -2 plus 5. What's -2 plus 5? Well, that's -3. So that's one of my answers, -3. All right, let's do the next one. I'm going to do the same thing. I got to do it for all 3 numbers to get my whole range. So I'm rewriting that part of the equation. I'm just leaving out the x and plugging in parentheses. And then I'm going to go back in and plug in my number. So my next x value was 0, so I'm going to plug in 0. Well, 1/4 of 0 is 0. So then I'm just left with 0 plus 5. What's 0 plus 5? Well, that's 5. So that's my next one. And then I have to do it one more time because there's 3 numbers here in my domain. So I'm going to write 1/4, and then get rid of my x and put parentheses, and then plus 5. And then my last x value there is 4. So I'm going to plug in 4. 1/4 of 4 is 1. So 1 plus 5 will get me 6. So I have my 3 answers to go with my 3 domains, my 3 inputs. I have my 3 outputs. So these are going to be my range. So when I do my range, this isn't my answer yet. My range, remember range we have to put in a little squiggly bracket. It's called a brace. And we list our answers from least to greatest. So my smallest output was -3. My next smallest output was 5. And my largest output was 6. And then there's my range. And then that would be my final answer. My final answer here is -3, 5, 6 inside that solution set. Okay? Go ahead, pause the video, try this one over here when you're done. All right, hopefully you paused the video and hopefully you did your work and hopefully it looks something like this, okay? So my first one, I plugged in -2. -2 times -2 is 4. 4 plus 5 is 9. My next one, I plugged in 2. That was my next x value. -2 times 2 is -4. -4 plus 5 is 1. My last one is 4, so I put -2 times 4, which is -8. And then I put the plus 5 from my equation. -8 plus 5 is -3. All right, so then my answer, it says, what's the range, right? Find the range. So I have to write my range in my little squiggly brackets and put my 3 solutions in order from least to greatest. So that is my answer. My smallest answer was -3. My next smallest was 1, and my largest answer was 9 as my inputs or my range. Okay, so that is domain, how to find the range when you're given the domain, and how to solve a function table. Okay, remember, domain means x, range means y. Input is x, output is y, IV is x, DV is y. All right, and then all you do is you're given those x values, you substitute it into those equations, and you solve it, do the math, you get your output, that's your y value. If you have a set of them like this, if it gives you a set of domain and it says what's the range, you solve them all and then you just put them in order from least to greatest. All right? If you ever have any questions, please ask a teacher, and I'll catch you next time. See you later. Bye-bye.